The State of the Union address played very differently in Texas because it shared the spotlight with that state's primary election, the first primary of the year. In the race for governor, two big names won handily: the incumbent, Republican Greg Abbott, and Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke. Governor Abbott is running for his third term. Mr. O'Rourke is vying to flip the Texas governorship blue for the first time since 1994. In general, it was a good night for incumbent candidates, with one notable exception: the state's Republican Attorney General, Ken Paxton. He got the most votes, but he failed to get an outright majority, and in Texas, that triggers a runoff. Mr. Paxton will challenge Texas Land Commissioner George P. Bush. He runs the state agency that oversees public lands. He is the nephew of former President George W. Bush and the grandson of President George H.W. Bush. Among the higher-profile races for Congress, incumbent Henry Cuellar will go to a runoff against human rights attorney Jessica Cisneros. His district runs from San Antonio south to the Mexican border. Ms. Cisneros got a number of endorsements, including from Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, the latest results show that she came within 2 percentage points of Congressman Cuellar. Let's get some more context on these races with Patrick Svitek. He's the primary political correspondent for the Texas Tribune. Mr. Svitek, welcome.
Good evening.
Any top-line findings, any headlines from the Texas primary in terms of what the results tell us so far about the Texas electorate?
Well, as you pointed out, it was generally a good night for incumbents, especially on the Republican side. The big outlier, though, is the Attorney General Ken Paxton, who has some unique vulnerabilities given his legal problems, which include securities fraud charges dating back to 2015, a more recent FBI investigation over claims that he abused his office to help a wealthy donor. So that race and that incumbent are kind of a unique outlier in this case. If you look at some of the races in Texas that national progressive groups and their allies were targeting, it was a bit of a mixed bag. In the 35th congressional district, Greg Casar, the former Austin City Council member, was able to win outright in his primary pretty convincingly, and I'd say that was probably the biggest progressive win of the night. But as you pointed out, that race between Henry Cuellar and Jessica Cisneros is headed to an overtime round, and Cuellar is the one who came out narrowly on top, obviously not enough to win outright. And so that, I think, is kind of a mixed result for progressives. There was another congressional race in Dallas that they were hoping to win outright. Their candidate there, State Representative Jasmine Crockett, came in just below 50%, and she's now heading to a runoff. And so a little bit of a mixed bag, I think, for some of the national progressive groups.
Yeah, Jasmine Crockett was running in that race to replace or to succeed Eddie Bernice Johnson in the Dallas area, who's one of the longest-serving members of the Congressional Black Caucus, the first nurse to be elected to Congress, a race that was really very closely watched, and she endorsed Jasmine Crockett, and that's going to a runoff as well. What about voting? There was a lot of concern among voting rights advocates before the election about some of the changes in Texas law. Your colleague Alexa Uro covered some of those concerns and said that a number of ballots from Texans remain in peril because they didn't quite comply with the change in ID requirements for voting by mail. How's that look today?
Yeah, some of this is really concerning, and it's obviously a function of this being the first major election happening under the new Texas voting law. Texas already had some of the strictest voting laws in the country before this new law was passed. And as Alexa pointed out in her story, one of the most concerning things are some of the county-level rejection rates that we were seeing for mail-in ballots. This law created stricter ID requirements to be able to vote by mail. And so you had folks encountering these requirements for the first time, sending in their applications or sending their ballots and having them rejected. And so you saw in some of these counties, I think Alexa pointed out, rejection rates ranging from 8% to 30%. Which I think in the 2018 midterms in Texas statewide, the rejection rate was like 2%. And so you saw some alarmingly high rejection rates as voters are confronting these new requirements and trying to figure out how to abide by them.
This race with Congressman Van Taylor, his race for re-election in the Dallas area, that got real salacious real quickly today. What happened there? That seemed to kind of come out of nowhere.
It did a little bit. So this was already kind of one of our closely watched Republican congressional primaries because he was facing a group of challengers who were basically saying he wasn't, loyal enough to former President Donald Trump because he voted for a proposed bipartisan commission to investigate January 6th. This was the commission, I should say, that never actually became law. It's not the committee that is doing work now, but he still took a lot of heat in his party for that. And so it was already a hot race because of all the criticism he was getting for that. But then on the day before the primary, Breitbart put out a story, featuring allegations of infidelity. And he didn't respond to it at the time, didn't respond to it on election day. But today he came out and told his supporters that, he didn't confirm necessarily all the details, but he came out and said that, yes, I had an affair and, it's one of the biggest mistakes of my life. And he announced that he would not seek re-election any further. And so he is basically, he's out of his race now. He's going to take his name off the ballot. And the runner-up that he was going to go to a primary runoff with, a guy named Keith Self, the former Collin County judge, is now effectively the Republican nominee for that seat. And because it's drawn to favor Republicans, he's likely to win in November and be the next congressman.
Briefly, before I have to let you go, the White House put out a statement tonight about what it described as Texas's attacks on transgender youth. The Department of Health and Human Services is putting the state on notice that some of these policies might put children's lives at risk. I was looking at the political ads in Texas while I was in Dallas. All the social issues. I mean, I haven't seen the word woke that much since the last time I cut on BET. It seemed like every social issue in the world was like the reason for some of the races in Texas. How much is the general going to come down to social issues versus everyday policy issues? Briefly, before we go.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Republicans steer away from some of those social issues as they get into the general. I think Governor Greg Abbott in his race, as he faces a serious challenge from Beto O'Rourke, is going to speak more about the strength of the Texas economy coming out of COVID, other kind of less controversial ways in which Texas leads the nation versus some of these social issues that have captured national interest recently.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.